Review the Light. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new thrower by Olight, the SR52 Intimidator. But really quick, before we get into that, go ahead and click on the link in the top right up here to subscribe to my channel and make sure you keep up to date with the latest reviews. So the Olight SR52 Intimidator is a new thrower by Olight, as I mentioned. It's powered by 318-650 or 6CR123 batteries, as you can see here. It gets up to 1200 lumens, and it has a USB charging port built in, so that's a pretty fun feature. So you can see we've got a bit of the specs on the back, and this is Olight's kind of standard packaging. The clear plastic box looks pretty nice, displaying the light inside of there. So let's open it up and take a look. Alright, so here on the top we have the box of accessories here in this little black cardboard box. So we've got a couple little flyers, the warranty card, and the user manual. So those are good to keep around. And then also in the accessories box it comes with a holster, which I'll show you what it looks like in the holster here in a minute. And tucked in the holster, it's got the rest of the accessories. So the USB charging cable, it's a micro USB. So these are very common. Most mobile phones nowadays are charged by micro USB, among lots of other things. So this is probably a cable you'll actually have lots of already if you have chargeable devices. If not, it comes with one. We've got a lanyard and a AC adapter for a USB charger. So if you want to charge it out of a wall outlet instead of like a computer charging port, it comes with the AC adapter there. So you plug in the USB right there. And it's got a couple spare O-rings. So we'll get this other stuff out of the way for now, and I'll show you the Intimidator in its holster. Okay, so this is the SR52. I will put in this holster really quick for you. So simple Velcro flap enclosure here. It only goes in the one direction due to the large size of the head. You just fold that over. You can see it's got the Olight logo there on the outside part of the holster. And in the back, just a simple strap here that you pass a belt loop or something else, or excuse me, your belt or something else through. So that's the holster. Alright, so the SR52 uses a single Cree XML emitter, so I'll try and get some light down in there so you can see it. You can see it's at the center of a very long, deep, large, smooth reflector. So this light is built for throw. There are a few lights out there that have larger heads than this, but this is larger than average. The XML is kind of a naturally floody emitter, but when you stick it in this large of a head, it can focus the light pretty well. So later on we'll take it outside and you can see just how well it's focused for a long distance throw. You can see the also Olight's signature kind of blue O-ring here at the head. It keeps water from entering the head of the assembly of the light, and also the blue O-ring just kind of has a nice touch of style to it. So we've got the Olight logo here printed on the head, and there's not really any other printing on the light except for at the tail there, so pretty stylish. It's got the side switch which controls the light. Got some heat dissipation fins here. These are pretty important for a high output light like this. This one gets up to about 1200 lumens, exclaimed by the specs. I'll check that out later, but it is a high output light, which means there's a lot of heat that needs to move away from the emitter and out of the flashlight and out into the air. So increasing the surface area here near the head is really helpful for that. And you can also see on the switch there the little Olight O logo, which is kind of funny. It looks nice, but it kind of makes the button feel a little bit uneven. So that'll take just a minute or two to get used to. We've got Olight's kind of square groove pattern, which is one of their signatures for a lot of their lights here on the body. And here you can see the charging port, which is different than any other charging port I've seen on a flashlight. It specifies 5 volts, 1 amp there. and we've got a little charging indication light also. So as you see, you can use a fingernail. There's a small tab. We'll see how close I can get with my camera will focus. There's a small tab right there you can push with a fingernail, or if you don't want to do that, you can possibly use some other small tool. But it kind of clicks into position here in the closed position, and it doesn't take a lot of force, but a little bit, and then you can pull it out of that, and then it clicks into position in the open position. So I haven't taken a look at the waterproof rating on this, but I'm curious to see how well this light might do underwater. I don't know if it's rated for submersion. I'll check that out later. And you can I forgot to mention, you should probably go ahead and check out the description down here to see the full review where I cover details like that. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how well this does as far as waterproofing. But it should be just fine at preventing any sort of grit or pocket lint or anything like that from getting in there, because it does click into position, and it's not really the kind of thing that's going to be easily opened by accident. It takes a little bit of force and purpose to do it. So that's the charging port. And the tail here, you can see is flat, large, has the SR52 Intimidator and a serial number there. The lanyard hole is on the side, and it's designed so that even when you've got the lanyard passed through, you can still set it up for a solid tail stand, so that's a nice feature. So we'll take a look inside. It unscrews the tail cap here. Threads are smooth. We've got an O-ring there to keep water out of the tail. The threads are anodized and kind of a medium thickness. It looks like a square cut. So I'll give you a close-up on the threads so you can get a look at that if it'll focus. It's about as good a focus as I'm going to get, it looks like. But yeah, so those threads should last for a while. Like I said, they've got pretty smooth action. Now the tail here is pretty interesting. It's similar, but a little bit different than the SR51 Intimidator, which is a floodlight that I have reviewed previously. And I'll try and add that link for you to check that out. But you can see it's this whole assembly here is mounted on a spring, and then it's got individual springs for each of the batteries, and then these little kind of plastic inserts to make sure that the whole thing goes where it's supposed to. So this whole thing, the spring that the whole thing is mounted on is tough enough that it doesn't rotate very much when it's not depressed. When you depress it, as it will be when you're putting it on, then that rotates freely, so that the springs can stay lined up as they should with the battery terminals. So you can see it's got the slots for 3 18650 batteries there, or else the 6 CR123 lithium batteries. And if I can get some light down in there, you can see the battery slots. So it doesn't have a battery carrier, but it does have these slots, and at the other end there's kind of a flat portion where the positive terminal of battery is going to connect. So there's no spring on that end, just a flat terminal. And each one of these batteries slides into one of its slots. There you can see them. And they just go side by side there. And then these plastic, kind of clear plastic parts, you align them so that they go in between the batteries, and then twist it on. And it's a pretty smooth action, even smoother than on the SR51 that like I said, has a similar but slightly different tail cap. So that's the construction of the light. So now we'll look at its operation. To turn the light on, you just use the side switch here, and you can see it's got a pretty smooth transition, it's a smooth flood area, pretty even flood, but it's pretty dim flood. Most of the light is focused here at the spot at the center, so I'll back off a little bit so you can see that spot. And as I'm backing off, I'm currently moving my hand backwards, and the spot is keeping its size pretty well, so that's one way you can tell it's pretty well focused. And like I said, we'll take it outside later to get a better look at that, but it's a good, solid, hot spot. And then a little bit of flood, enough that you'll be able to see your surroundings a little bit, but it's pretty dim. So that's the beam pattern, and you'll notice it looks a little bit bluish here due to my camera's white balance. In real life, to my eyes, the spot is pretty much solid, just plain white. The flood has a little bit of a bluish purplish tint to it. So now let me pull up in the user manual here to make sure I get everything covered. the whole thing is controlled by this one electronic side switch. So when it's off, a single click will turn it on to whatever brightness mode you used last, and from there you hold down on the switch to get it to cycle through the 3 modes, the low, medium, and high. So there's low, medium, and high. And as I said, you just hold down on the side switch to cycle through, and it'll continue to cycle until you get the one that you want. Say I want to stop at medium, I release it and it stops there. At any time when the light is on, I can do a double click quickly and it will go into strobe mode, and click it again and it turns off. Or when the light's off, I can double click and go to strobe mode. So again, it does have mode memory, so I left it on in the medium mode last time. The strobe isn't memorized, so it just goes right back to the steady brightness mode I used last, which was a medium. So yeah, if I leave it on in turbo and turn it off, it comes back on in turbo. But like I said, if I leave it on in the strobe and turn it off, it goes back to the regular brightness I used last, which was a turbo. The strobe isn't memorized. The other feature that it has is a lockout system. So if when it's off, if I hold the button for about 2 seconds, it turns off, and then it won't turn back on as I click it. So this is kind of like if you're going to have it in your bag or something for a little while, and you don't want anything to bump it and turn it on by accident and run down your battery or heat up your bag. It's good to put it in the lockout. Now if you're going to be storing it long term, go ahead and take the batteries out of it. But for temporary periods of non-use, you can lock it out, and then to deactivate the lockout, just hold down on the button for about 2 seconds again. That's a nice feature. So that is the SR52 Intimidator, and if you stick around for just a second, we'll take it outside in the dark and see how it does. Thanks. Almost forgot, before we take it outside, let's demonstrate the use of the charging port here. So this is the micro USB port that it came with, and I've got it plugged in. So I'll open it up and plug it in here. And you can see it is currently charging. I'll give you a little closer look. This little red light here. I'll turn off one of these so it's a little easier to see that. We've got a red light here which indicates that it's charging. According to the instructions, when it gets fully charged, this light will turn from red to green. So in a minute I'll show you that. But yeah, little red light to show that it's charging. Instructions say it takes about 10 hours to charge up 3 fully depleted cells. You want to make sure you don't put this in when you've got the CR123 batteries in there. Those are not rechargeable. I'm not sure if they have electronics built in to recognize that and refrain from charging it. My guess is that it won't try and charge it because of the higher voltage, but just to be safe, I'd say don't try and plug it in and charge it if you've got CR123s in there. Also, the instructions state that when the battery voltage gets low on your light, this starts to blink once a minute if it's not charging, but if you're out using it, and then when it gets very low, it turns on solid. So if you're out using it and that light turns on, that's your cue to recharge the battery. So just to show you what it looks like when it's not charging, and the little green light, I'm going to take the batteries out really quick. So you can see an example. I'm not sure if it'll, yeah, I've got to put the tail cap back on. I will mention it's a pretty firm connection in there with the USB port that they provided, so it's unlikely that it'll just slip out when you're using it. But there is the green light. That's what it'll look like when it's not charging. So you've got it plugged in and it's not charging, it's a green light. However, you just see it's got this green light with the batteries out. So make sure that when you have it plugged in that it is green because it's charging and not simply because there's no batteries in it. Excuse me, that it's done charging and not because it's empty. So yeah, now after you see the charging port, we will take it outside. Hello and welcome back to Review the Light. Here we have the Olight SR52 Intimidator outside, and we're going to give it a shot in the dark. So I'll go ahead and turn it on with that single click. And here you see I'm pointed at a tree fairly far away. I'll go a little further away. This is the medium mode I believe I'm in now, so I'll kick it up to turbo. So you can see the light is well focused into a bright spot there in the middle. The spot kind of has a bit of a fade off into the spill, and the spill is pretty even out to a very well defined edge. So you always want at least a little bit of spill for pretty much every application, just so you can see things that are close to you and don't get the tunnel vision developed. But here the light is very well focused due to the very large reflector. I'll cycle through the modes for you here. We've got low, medium, high, and again, these are just cycled through by holding down on the switch. It just cycles through and then stops to whatever mode you stop at. And then here's the strobe mode. And back to the high. We'll just look around at a few objects a little further away so you can get an idea of its capabilities here. Those trees are quite a ways away. I'll see if I can look up the distance later, but it's a pretty good distance to throw. So that is the Olight SR52 Intimidator. Again, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click the link right up here in the corner. Make sure you keep up to date on the latest reviews. Thanks. And something I just discovered kind of neat, the SR52 apparently has a glow-in-the-dark O-ring built in, so hopefully your screen brightness is turned up enough that you can appreciate that to its fullest beauty. But this another fun touch, a nice little Easter egg there. Thanks.